listening to CaveRadioBroadcasting.com. The words and opinions you are about to hear are of the hosts and do not reflect the management of CaveRadioBroadcasting.com.
I can't hear a thing in my cans.
Better.
Oh,
okay.
Here we are. There we are. Oh, that's me.
But we can still hear the song. There we go.
Oh, okay. We got it. We're getting it.
Satan has been on overdrive. At least with me. I don't know about you guys. But
I was saying the same
you have
thing.
no idea.
Seriously, I was saying the same thing earlier.
I'm not kidding. Not because of this pre-show stuff. I was going to talk about this anyway because something has just flipped in the last 7 days.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But why were you going to say something?
Same thing in personal life, everything. I was telling Howard earlier that I just feel down. I feel like depressed. I'm getting beaten down. You know?
No,
what I mean?
it just makes me stronger.
Yeah.
Because I'm pissed.
Uh-huh.
Oh wait, we should say hi to everyone. Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, how's everyone doing?
How's that intro?
How you doing? Pretty good, you know. So we got Tony and Dave today. Roger's at the board. Kenny's off God knows where. I don't know if we'll ever see Kenny again. Kenny may have gone to the witness protection program.
Yeah. What would he have been a witness to? It would have been a long list. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know if I want to know.
I do. I don't
Probably better off not knowing.
Is DiBiase listening?
Probably not, because he's at the same place Kenny is.
Or what?
They're
Is it
both
a
at
metal
Freedom,
show?
Yeah, they're both at Freedom Hill. It's Clutch and somebody else.
I absolutely.
I got another buddy that just went, Justin.
Yeah.
Clutch and
Yeah.
well, that's good. See, this is how my life's been going lately.
Exactly.
Because we're old.
I don't know whether to pour a coffee or a whiskey is sour.
I think we need hemlock.
I absolutely understand now the draw of metal music because, I've been making fun of it for a long time.
Primus.
Primus. Oh, I
Who
actually
actually
know one of
love.
their songs.
I like Primus better than I like Clutch, but
I would love to just get in a microphone and scream into it. I would just...
well, let us know. We'll take our headphones off.
No, I'm not going to do it, but I would like to. I'd love to just be Zach De La Rocha on stage. I mean...
Oh, you're talking in a metal band. Oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, we could totally
do
do
you think we can do that on a talk show?
Totally. I'll bring my guitar next time. Totally.
Our numbers will go through the rafters. Okay, so...
Marino will listen.
Tony, what... how has this been manifesting with you this week?
Well, it's been like several weeks, okay? And it's, maybe I make too big of things out of certain things, but, personal life, I told you, I'm divorced, and you got all these things coming up, and you've got all these conflicts all of a sudden, right? For no reason. There's really no reason for it. And you've got work stuff that's going on. When Howard and I were talking, it's like,
Client from Hell Week.
Yeah, someone, hey, we need to do this. We need to do it right away. And I do design. Okay, so I design something based on the information you give. Okay, this will work. Yeah, oh yeah. Did we tell you we want to do this? It's like, oh, wait a minute. You realize that means start over from scratch.
It would have been
right?
nice to know at the beginning.
Yeah, but to them, it's no big deal. No big deal. And then we've got some other people.
And then they get pissed at you if you even, balk.
Ooh, what's your problem?
That's exactly what happened. I'll tell you about my story in a minute. It's one of many, but so keep going.
Well, I've got, I think I offended a good friend.
Oh, I offend people all the time.
Yeah, it was unintentional.
I'm very offensive.
I was just telling Howard earlier that very bright kid. I call him a kid. He's in his 30s. He's a computer guy. He's top notch, And I go as far as to say, if someone said, he's smarter than you are, I'd say, yeah, probably. You know what I mean? There's that kind of respect
right.
for him, right? So, but he started making little comments. I mean, he didn't mean to do this, but comments that I'm listening to, I'm like, wait a minute, that's straight out of the media. This is straight out of the media. There's several things, whether it has to do with climate, whether it has to do with healthcare, whether it has all these things that you're seeing. It's like, wait a minute, you've been brainwashed. You don't even know you've been brainwashed.
Well,
I started
technically,
asking,
he is a millennial. So that's an affliction all its own.
I started asking, and I was going to bring him up today because he's went to NASA. Okay.
Oh, okay.
He's looked through telescopes. He's into this kind of stuff. I said, well, NASA stuff's coming up, so I'm trying to study a little bit about round Earth, flat Earth. I'm not really into the flat Earth thing. I would never say flat Earth, right?
You just said it.
But I just said what?
Flat Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't.
I'm kidding. Keep going.
I wouldn't say that I believe in flat Earth.
I don't care.
But you know what? If it were, would it surprise me? No, based on everything that we're getting into, right? So you have to investigate things for yourself. But I just get the feeling like he was really offended because we had a conversation after, like healthcare. Something very simple as healthcare. My point is, you don't want the government involved in healthcare at all, right? But we've been conditioned up to this point.
What's up, Eric?
We've been conditioned up to this point to accept certain things. This is the way it's going to be. You got your choice. You can vote for this guy or you can vote for this guy. Which one do you want? You're going to have health care. Do you
we
want
have
this?
freedom because we have 2 guys on the ballot.
Yeah,
but we
do.
make fun of North Korea because they have 1 guy on the ballot.
Right.
Yeah, we've only got 50% more people.
And, it's this kind of thing. I want to sit down and say, hey, wait a minute. So I play a little bit of devil's advocate when you talk to somebody, right? You don't throw out all your views. You kind of listen to what they have to say and kind of try to tone it down. I want to tone it down because
Depends on who it is.
I'm angry, right? Yeah, it depends on who
You're
it is.
very mild-mannered. I'm surprised that you would...
Angry Tony's not much different than calm Tony.
I know.
I've noticed.
Well, I really try to hold it back because I can get angry.
Now, I'm a dick.
Uh-huh.
Howard's a little bit of a dick, too. Like, I can see us offending people. I don't see Tony being offensive.
It's my sarcasm. I'm sarcastic, and that's what offends people.
Mm-hmm.
I always hide it behind humor. Dude, I'm joking. Come on. What? What? Come on. Get the thicker skin.
Yeah. I try not to. And like I said, he's very, very nice. And I have a lot of respect for him.
What are the chances he's listening to the show right now?
Oh, I would doubt. I would think I doubt based on what he said. I mean, he when it got into the flat Earth and the NASA stuff, I mean, he was like, "Oh, this is easy to prove," which I believe him. Right? I'm not.
Here, I got a picture right here.
But he said, go on to YouTube and you can see you take a balloon up, and so for some reason it popped up on my YouTube today. Rob Skiba actually has a video out of a balloon, and he's got a fisheye camera, a regular camera, and he goes through. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing. I watched
he actually went to the trouble of taking a boat from across Lake Michigan, where it's a 90-mile span, and the city of Chicago, as you're leaving the Michigan's west coast, should be about 4,000 feet below eye level or sea level. And no, the Earth's gravitational pull is not enough to curve light, okay? So the only way you would be able to see the city is if there is, in fact, something amiss in what we... It just... And you could see it. I mean, he literally filmed it the whole way across. And I've done the same thing with Put-in-Bay from where I live, which is 70 miles away, and it should be 3,200 feet below sea level, my eye level. I am agnostic when it comes to flat Earth because who the F knows?
Right.
But I'm not agnostic about NASA, which we'll talk about later. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, the whole thing was, I get the feeling based on his emails that maybe, he thinks like you're stupid. That's just ridiculously stupid, right? And I'm thinking like, well, it may be. I haven't really looked into it. I don't really want to look into it too close because, like I told you before, once if the Earth was flat and it was proven that it was flat, that would totally blow my mind to where you couldn't even function anymore because you'd have to relook at everything in your life to see what is real and what's not real.
Well, that happened to a friend of ours. He came to the conclusion it was flat, and he's still effed up by it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, and these kind of things, but it's just all these things just kind of piling on. And I'm getting the feeling that, I'm...
Well, did he insult you, or did you insult him?
No.
Did he say it was stupid?
No, he didn't say it. I'm guessing on some of this stuff. I'm just... taking some of the comments and thinking like, oh, maybe I offended him, which I really didn't want to do.
Well, I think you should just explain what we try to explain on here. Just be like, hey, man, I'm not saying
exactly.
I have an opinion one way or the other. I've just learned you got to keep an open mind.
Well, the one thing that I've learned
because
that
being
you got to have an open
closed-minded,
mind.
no matter how much you think, how right you think you are, being closed-minded about anything is not. It's not smart.
Yeah,
I mean that's not the smart way to go about things. You have to remain open.
Yeah, and if you ask me, do I believe everything that's going on? No, absolutely not. I know there's lies and there's all these things that we've talked about going on because you can see it, and it's just a preponderance of evidence. It's like trying to say, the other thing that gets you down is all this stuff that keeps going on with the attacks on Trump, and they're going to remove Trump from office and things like. And I'm thinking like, if that happens, we're going to war.
No, they're not. They're not. They can't.
Well, it doesn't stop them from trying. Okay.
Well, they can. I mean, they can spend all the time they want. They weren't able to remove Bill Clinton, and he committed impeachable offenses. So,
well, they weren't trying to get rid of Bill Clinton.
They weren't trying. Exactly, they weren't trying. They were.
It's just like this healthcare
loaded gun to his head to let him know that.
It's like this healthcare thing. Okay. Oh, the Republicans have had all this time. They said they were going to repeal it. All this. My argument is no, they weren't. They were never going to repeal.
They were going to adjust it. Yeah.
Well, and if they adjust it, it's minor adjustments. The people that benefit from it are still going to benefit from it.
Right.
So it's all a big whitewash. But you got it's like being in high school or elementary. You got two kids standing in a circle and a bunch of other people around them. Fight, 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 and they're pushing everybody against each other to fight. That's what these people around us are doing. And now it turns out that friends that you may know on Facebook or whatever, that you're thinking like, now I'm in an argument with these people that there shouldn't be an argument, because if you actually sit down, you probably have a lot of the main concerns, the same main concerns, and you want the same things.
Right. But
but you can't get there because
completely different ways.
Once you're labeled, you're a bad person.
And they have been very, very quick with the labels the last several months. It's been kind of a label fest. I bet you Dymo's making some money.
Yeah. And then bringing up things like NASA. You start bringing up things like NASA, it's just like 9/11 or anything else. People get upset. They get mad.
Yeah.
This is how the programming is. You can't just.
But no one cares if you bring up JFK.
No, there was a guy talking about.
No, they still care about JFK.
I haven't had anybody get upset when I'm like.
They've accepted
lone bullet.
They've accepted.
There is something about time distance. Like if you bring up the Titanic, no one gets upset. JFK, they still kind of get upset.
Well, here's
9/11.
The video you sent with the former officer. I think it was trying to. He was trying to prove.
J. Warner Wallace. Who said that
it was about
any of you
the resurrection.
People that believe, he used his police brain, and for this I commend him, to prove the story of Jesus being true.
Right.
And this was an epiphany for him. And he talks about this, and he was talking about, I had all these preconceived notions, and what he called presuppositional or presuppositional assumptions, whatever it is. And he followed his own detective criteria to determine, holy cow, Jesus Christ is real. But then he stops there because he goes out of his way. And any of you people that think that JFK conspiracy or 9/11, you guys it's impossible. You can't keep a secret like that. Just trust me. And I'm just like, dude, I wouldn't care so much, except for a lot of people find God like I did, because they literally find Satan on earth. And so on one hand, he's not doing this maliciously, because he believes this in his heart. And on one hand, he finally used his brain to figure out, holy cow, the Bible's actually verifiably accurate. Against all his preconceived beliefs, but he doesn't then carry that over into anything. He then jumps to this conclusion, to which, the age-old comebacks to that are, well, look, then How did the mafia exist for 40 years without anyone knowing about it? How did the Manhattan Project, with 150,000 people, how was that pulled off where our Vice President Harry S. Truman didn't even know about it? So don't tell me we can't keep secrets. And if you find Jesus Christ and you believe him, maybe believe what he said, that there is a deceiver of the whole world out there. Not a deceiver of your little cul-de-sac in your neighborhood, not a deceiver of the tinfoil hat guy down the street, but a deceiver of the whole world. Yet it's like he goes right back into his brainwashing program, and
Exactly.
it's stifled. And when that comes from inside the body of Christ, it gets me a little bit fired up. I get it if you're random sheep heading for the slaughterhouse doesn't get it. But when it comes from the shepherds, the sheep herders, whatever you want to call them, not that I get upset, but upset is the right word. But I don't blame him. I'm just...
Yeah, but you caught the same thing I did.
Yeah.
That was a boom right in my head. I said, wait a minute. Now, the point that he made about pressure, okay, when it takes, when you're pressuring somebody, you're trying to hold a secret, okay? If you want to hold a secret from me, there's not a whole lot of pressure I can put on you to make you tell me the truth. I'm not an authority to you, right? Then
Right.
that's the way I see this. And he was trying to explain it that, well, he's the police, right? They put pressure on somebody, and somebody knows that is actual pressure because they have the power to put them in jail or
Right, incarcerate them.
Right. But you take if you're involved with a government conspiracy,
That goes above and beyond the police.
above and beyond everything that you
Yeah.
know. I mean, who else in the world is going to do something to you?
And where is the pressure coming for those people? It is coming from an ancient, evil, spiritual source that is much more powerful than any police department or government or any human authority.
But if you just take the government, you don't even have to go there. You just take the government. They're the highest authority that you know that can do any. There's no one outside our government. You can argue UN can't do anything to you. That you've got protection. So if you're involved with the government and you're involved in something like that, the only pressure can come from below. So what is it? Screw you! I don't have to tell you nothing, right?
Well, you have to
there is no pressure to tell.
You have to take into account the true believer syndrome as well. A lot of these people are the reason why they keep the secret is they believe that they're doing it for the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
You're
talking about a secret for like
we can
JFK?
We can bridge into our next topic for
Like
a second.
like Freemasonry has kept secrets.
Well, I mean, let's just talk for 2 seconds about the moon landing. Okay, so if in fact it was fake, okay, I could absolutely see how you would get the people that were working on making the film of the moon landing. Well, how could you get them to shut up? Well, you explain to them, hey man, the Russians are way ahead of us. America's in jeopardy.
Yeah, this is
man.
patriotic.
This is patriotic. You're going to save.
We need to scare the Russians into
You're going to
submitting.
save.
Yeah, of
you're going to
course.
save the United States, the entire country. We can't make it on Kennedy's deadline. They're going to defund NASA. Russia's going to win. We're all going to be speaking Russian, man.
yeah.
You telling me if someone tells you that you're saving your kids' lives, you can't keep a secret? Because I could.
But you
If
think
I believe- if
you
I
think that
believe
still lasts even to this day though? From
Well, that's just
July
it.
20th,
Yeah, but the thing is,
1969.
once
It
they
doesn't
get you,
last.
it doesn't have to.
It doesn't
because
la-
once they get you, they got you.
Well, how many people have defected out of NASA
Right.
to say, you guys, we faked it? I mean, the head of NASA rocketry, Werner von Braun,
Yeah.
even said, Carol, we faked it. It is all part of a
I love it when you
deception.
do German accent.
Maybe because there's a little Nazi in me somewhere deep down because I'm in the...
Wow, a lot of Nazis.
You are from South America.
after
And believe
the
me,
war.
I've
From
been
the South
accused of
America.
being in the Illuminati. My dad was at Colgate, where George Estabrooks, the mind control guy, was at the exact same time. In fact, my sister and I were wondering if maybe he wasn't one of the mind control victims that Estabrook wrote J. Edgar Hoover about. If you saw those letters saying, we've got 24 military men. Colgate was an all-male school with 1,000 people in the school. He's like, it's all males. My dad was in the Navy at the time. This is right after World War II, like he was there from 45, graduated in 48. Estabrooks writing that we've got these men in this program. It's a continuation of the Nazi mind control program. Thank you, Operation Paperclip, for bringing all those assholes over here, half of which went to NASA, which we'll get in a minute. And then the next thing you know, and he's Estabrook, Dr. George Estabrook. Check him out, folks. He's bragging to J. Edgar Hoover, saying that the people in this program, they don't even know they're in the program. Because if you can brainwash the population, and they don't know it, you don't think you can do that, even a better job of that? How many times have we seen someone on a talk show that has a hypnotist as a guest for the week, and they get someone in the audience to jump around on one foot like a buffoon, and then the dude doesn't remember doing it and has to be shown a video to prove he did it? Now, you don't think that if you had access to someone for greater periods of time, you could, who the hell knows what you could do? Russ Dizdar thinks we've got 10 million programmed, literally assassins, which he calls the Black Awakening, which he also refers to as the Red Horse of Revelation. And frankly, I believe him. I mean, you can follow it. So the next thing we know is our dad, he goes from Colgate. He suddenly decides, I need to learn to speak Spanish. He learns to speak Spanish. He then spends the next 20 years in the following nations: Cuba, Honduras, another Central American. They were all of the Guatemala, several nations which all were going on, which all had civil insurrections going on.
This is your father?
This is my father. This is why I get accused of being in the Illuminati sometimes. And he was always there in the middle of literally a revolution. These same places the CIA, now declassified documents, show we were screwing with their government at the time.
Right.
What was my dad was involved in banking. He was a bank consultant. He had several apartments all over Latin America and South America. He now was speaking Spanish fluently. And next thing you know, he's in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And these are the stories he told us as kids. He's having everyday conversations with former Nazis that have emigrated from Germany that are now in Buenos Aires, and this was his social circle. And my sister and I were just looking at each other going, I wonder if there was more going on there that he may not himself have known about. But
he could have been sent to different places to do certain type of work, and he didn't know he was working for. Was he in the picture with
Castro?
Well, I was going to say the one
Perón.
No, the big famous picture that came out with Ted Cruz's father and.
No.
Oh, you don't know that one?
The JFK thing?
Yeah. Basically, when Trump was asking about, I don't think it was Trump that brought out, but somebody brought out a picture. It was supposed to be Rafael Cruz with JFK's killer, who is Lee Harvey Oswald. Right?
Well, actually, it was anyone but Lee Harvey Oswald. But anyway,
but they show a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald in Cuba. I think it was Cuba with Rafael Cruz, and that's the next day when Cruz dropped out of the race.
I vaguely
remember that. Yeah, they basically said, well, a big investigative reporter, Wayne Madsen, basically had
former NSA official. These aren't joke guys.
No,
these are real.
These are guys that have a lot of information right off the top of their head and can tell you step for step. And basically, he broke it down to say, because people say, "Oh, that's not him." Okay, you could say that's not him, but based on his bank records and all these other records, this is where he worked. This is who he worked for. These are, and they break this whole timeline down. He went from here, then he went to here, working for the Bush family oil company in Canada.
Yeah, Zapata Oil.
Yeah.
Which was one of the names of the operations, which was the same name as Bush's oil company.
Yeah. So if these people have put all these links together, but yet do you ever hear any of these stories? No, because all this stuff is covertly going on, and they don't bring it out. Just like your father could have been whoever, like you're saying.
And he might not even know it.
Mm-hmm.
And it never even occurred to me until about 2 months ago when I was actually looking through newspapers.com. And by the way, folks, there is something cathartic and enlightening about reading old newspapers. I mean, you can really see what the topics of the day were, how they spoke, the things they mentioned in jest, which were a big deal then. You can do things like, I'll show this to you guys. I'll put it online when we put this show on air. But the some of the things you can learn, for instance, and I don't want to get too far off track here, but like the Japan may strike Pearl Harbor, right? Do you guys know how there were rumors about that?
Right.
Here's the Hawaii Hilo Tribune, the weekend before December 7th. Yet, it was
A surprise.
an incredible surprise. The headline says it's November 30th, Sunday, November 30th, 1941, 7 days before Pearl Harbor. Massive headline, Japan may strike over weekend. So don't tell me the truth doesn't get out there. It does. Now, I'm not even going to get into the Holocaust thing, but ironically, I found about 20 headlines that all predict, before World War II started, that 6 million Jews are being killed.
That was predicted?
Here's the American Hebrew, October 31st, 1919. 6 million human beings are being whirled toward the grave. Here's the New York Times, 1906. 6 million Jews. The Russian government studied policy for the solution of the Jewish question is systematic and murderous extermination. That's 1906. Here's another one. Oh, here's actually, this is someone that amalgamated about 25 headlines, all saying, this is well before World War II, that 6 million Jews are being exterminated.
Isn't it funny how they all focus on 6 million? This is how, in today's news,
It's predictive programming.
it is. When you hear these stories, and I just saw a video that was put together that talked about all these local news forecasters repeating the exact same lines,
Word for word.
word for word.
Oh, I've
over and over. I mean, all
there's
over
some
the country.
segments in our film, the upcoming one, that will leave your jaw on the floor because you'll see the press release from corporate. We want to highlight. This is a hypothetical. This is just
Making it up.
we want to highlight cat videos today, and we want to talk about Persian cats or Siamese twin cats. And then you'll see, just like you said, every local news station, word for word, echo it. And we've got it spliced together, so it's just like it becomes so ridiculous. You realize this is so scripted. Like there's no real journalism anymore outside of independents and alternative folks that are self-funded. But you can have 1,000 of those guys speaking the truth versus Anderson Cooper.
If it's not on the mainstream,
Oh, but they would
You don't
have
believe
put
it.
it on there. Not if the devil controls it, you dumbasses. Sorry, I'm a little effing fired up today. Cuba. What were we talking about? Oh, so he drops out of the race after his dad.
dropped out of the race next day after basically saying that Rafael Cruz had ties to the CIA. Right. Is that a stretch? No.
No.
No, it's
No.
most likely. It'd be a surprise if he was not.
Yeah.
Okay? Just like when you bring up on like a Facebook or something, you're talking to somebody. Have you really understood who Barack Obama is, who his grandparents were, what they did? You talk about banking. Obama's grandmother was the first female head of a bank, in Hawaii, that was funding all the Asian dictators that were friendly to the U.S.
Have you ever seen the guy that probably really is his father?
Yeah.
That looks identical.
Yeah.
And was dating.
Frank, was it Frank?
I don't get. some of those stories, what's the point? Because Obama's not in office anymore. Or I should say at the moment. He's still not out of the picture in my mind.
No, he's going for
No, in
world
fact,
leadership.
he just bought a $15 million mansion in downtown Washington, D.C.
Yeah, he was a broke senator from Illinois when I was living there, and then he just had a job as the president, which pays $200,000 a year. Where did
I thought it was $400,000.
I wrote a book.
Is it $400 now?
I thought.
You write a book and you get big bucks.
Yeah, whatever.
I didn't buy the book. I don't know anyone who bought the book. But
And you think he wrote it? Really? Did he sit down at a typewriter with his little bank teller hat and start typing?
But these are things when you ask yourself. Here's a silly question: do you honestly believe? I mean, I know we try to tell all the kids that go to school, "Hey, go to school, get an education. You never know. You may be the president of the U.S." Right? Does anyone actually believe Barack Obama, with his background, as sketchy as it is, came out of nowhere to become president?
Well,
just organically, because people liked it.
Hell no.
No.
Hell. In fact, you can find people that were talking about Barack Obama becoming president when he was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some White House insiders, and they're credible to me, but to the people at large, their credit is in question because their credibility is in question because they're claiming these outrageous things such as, look, I'm telling you, the leaders of our country were molesting me. I was literally a sex slave, yada, yada, yada. And they were talking...
Like Dennis Hazard just came out of prison, by the way.
Who?
Dennis Hazard.
What was his...
he was the Speaker of the House.
Oh, Dennis Hastert?
Yeah.
Hastert?
Did I say it wrong?
From Iowa, I think.
Hazard? Hastert?
Whatever.
Yeah.
What was he
that
in prison
pedophile
for?
dude. He was in... Well, he didn't go to jail for pedophilia because of the statute of limitations. So they got him on something else. But it was based on knowing that information.
Yeah, that to me smells like a guy that was doing something that the powers that be don't like, and they make an example out of it.
Former Speaker of the House?
Yeah, former.
Yeah,
it was the longest run of the Speaker of the House. Here's an interesting fact about it I just found out. He was the third when he was running. Prior to running, I think he was some kind of a coach. Something to do with the schools with young kids.
Maybe
right?
you're getting him mixed up with the guy from Penn State.
No. This was him, right? Although they all have similar positions, right? Anyway, he was third when he decided to run for office. The guy ahead of him died mysteriously, and all of a sudden he was put in.
Was it a suicide around the Clintons?
It was probably I think he was shot in the back a couple times.
Oh, okay.
Committed suicide. Something ridiculous like that. I mean, it's just these things that happen. It's like any of these strange deaths that happen around these people. It's kind of like the OJ thing that's going on right now.
It's funny because he just got out of jail, too.
Did they get him out?
Yeah, he got paroled. Yeah.
I figured he would get out. But
see, OJ for me... OJ for me was just disgust in my fellow man. I didn't think OJ was a conspiracy. I just thought that the jury was a bunch of idiots and the prosecution was inept. But I remember that was when the division started.
I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing.
There's no way in hell he didn't kill those people. Okay, in case you didn't know.
By the way,
I'm going to take a stand on this. This isn't flat Earth. He murdered those people.
Most likely,
I don't know anymore.
There's no way.
Unless I've seen it with my own eyes and researched it to my own satisfaction. There is nothing out there that I agree with or disagree with. That's one thing that this little journey does to you is, in a lot of ways, it
opens your eyes.
Yeah, but there's a price that comes with that. I mean, you're now on an island in a lot of ways. You no longer really can have friends through geography. It's got to be friends through idealism. It changes relationships. It
does
because you're not
reorganizes your friends.
Well, from their perspective, what's our perspective towards them is
morons.
They're a replicant, brainwashed. I mean, they're literally walking towards a slaughterhouse and they don't even know it.
Right.
And I don't think this is very Christian of me, and I'm still grappling with becoming a Christian. Obviously, I'm very open about that on the air. This is by design meant to be almost like a diary, a work in progress. This is the evolution of a Christian in a lot of senses.
If you believe in evolution.
And I'm just not...
Evolution.
I'm not there completely, because there are times where I get frustrated. And I can see now why I believe this is written somewhere. We need Catherine today because we need a Bible verse for this. But I believe this is in there, that those that are really with Jesus Christ they're looking forward to him coming. Mm-hmm. And literally on the drive up here, I was like, dude, get down here, please. Like, we are ready. And one of the satisfactions I have is that all truth will come out. So I guess all court cases will essentially be retried. All lies will be fixed. And I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how they're going to fit all these people into some big courtroom, or if it's just going to be instant knowledge soaking, whatever. But I'm looking.
So when you're all standing around, you see OJ just. Oh, yeah, I guess he was guilty.
I just hope I get there before him so I can get a seat in the gallery.
What you're saying is interesting, because I just was listening to Derek Prince video.
Love Derek Prince.
Where he basically says the same thing. If you're looking forward to Jesus reappearing, right? That means what? Things are going to get, they may be bad now, they're going to get a heck of a lot worse.
Well, no, not for us, though. They're going to get a heck of a lot better. After
he shows up.
Right.
But until that time, things for all of us on this earth are going to get very, and I forgot the word he used for it, but
tumultuous.
Things are going to get very bad.
Shitty, whatever. Yeah. And I'm sorry I'm swearing today, folks. I'll edit that stuff out.
You're a potty mouth, dude.
I am, dude, because I'm...
And you don't even have a Red Bull with you today. Did you finish it off where you got it?
That, and I'm actually... I think it's because I actually got some sleep.
Oh. See, I didn't get much sleep last night. That's another thing. I was like up 3-4 times.
Well, this is one of the things that's been going on the last 2 weeks. Is I've been waking up at just right around 3 a.m. Like, that used to happen a lot. Mm-hmm. And this is when I know that I'm getting close to something that is going to actually help the message of Jesus Christ. Because these, to say the word demonic attack, just it sounds so effing impossible. I don't even like to use that word. But when all these things suddenly pop up all at once, my ex, who I've been getting along with just beautifully, just out of the blue.
Oh, no.
She goes total dark on me and just it starts hurling insults. And it's like right back to where we were 2 years ago. Then I'm waking up at 3 a.m. That hadn't been happening for a while, but for the last week, does this happen to you guys where you get up at 3 a.m.?
Oh, it seems like it's almost all the time.
Russ Dizdar explained that one to me. And he explained something. I mean, God, he put me at ease one time I never would have believed. He was talking about, he's like, here are some signs that you're a real Christian. I don't think those were his words. That's what I'm using. Like, you really are in a relationship, a real one with Jesus. These strange things will be happening to you. Number one, he's like, you're going to want him to come, which basically means the end of the world as we know it. Mm-hmm. He's like, do any of you walk around the house with a gun? Now, at the time...
You were strapped?
I literally was walking around the house. Because this is back before I completely understood how this was working. He's like, another thing is like, do you wake up at 3 a.m.? And I'm like, holy cow, all the time.
What does 3 a.m. have to do with
That's the witching hour. That's when all these stinking covens all around you literally send their little demons to go screw with people that are getting closer to Jesus or bringing people close to Jesus.
Well, that is interesting because 3 a.m., it seems like you get up and you're like, what the heck? And you look at the clock and it's always 3-something that I'm getting up. That is odd. So go ahead.
Well, I actually, just last night, you guys know who Lynn Liaz is?
I can't say.
She's very similar to, she does what we do, essentially. And she has guests like Stephen Quayle and Bill Silas, and she has a lot of people on her show. She's bringing a lot of people to God. And I'd shot her a message saying, hey, I think you're nearby. Do you want to do a show and show? She calls into ours. We go on hers, something like that. And so I was replying to a message that she sent to me last night, and it literally, I looked at the clock. It was as I was starting it, and I'm like, I just got up, and it's 3 a.m. Surprise, surprise, because it happens so frequently. And then that happens right when everyone around me goes south a little bit, even though I've literally been in a bubble. Something's up. And then to hear it's happening with you and Howard.
Well, the other thing you mentioned, you're going to see the 11s. And now,
yes,
and I have to say, it's like constantly now.
Yeah,
every time I look at the clock, it's like, wow, that's weird. 11 again. Or so. And
I don't know the purpose of that. I don't know exactly what that means. There are some that think that it's a bad sign. There's something that thinks it's a good sign. There's just so much we don't.
I'm hoping it's a good sign because
I think either way you slice it, you're becoming aware of what exactly I don't know all the time, because there's some people that are essentially becoming aware of paganism that are seeing 11s as well, but it's definitely, there's something meaningful in the number, and I don't know exactly what that is. In fact, I'm curious as to what the number 11 means biblically. Every number has, like the number 10, I just saw this. I think I saw this on the DTRH show. She had this guy on that was talking about numbers in the Bible and some of what their meanings are. And the number 10 is the number of, I want to say, of government and of Antichrist also. Mm-hmm. This is the guy, if you ever watch her show, if you ever see a show where she has a guest on that talks about a demon by the name of Nurgle. You guys ever heard of Nurgle? Just what a stupid demon name.
Yeah,
nonetheless.
That's bad demon.
No, as bad as Urkel.
Apparently,
like Urkel, yeah.
The guy on the show had a vision saying that Nurgle is essentially here now, and he had gone through a calculation that on Obama's second inauguration that this demon literally, which was the same exact demon that had been in Babylon and probably several other of Satan's governments over history, was now literally in the White House whispering to the, doing whatever they do to influence people. Mm-hmm. And I do know that there's without a doubt, if you believe you can be influenced for good, then you can also be influenced for bad. Whether you're aware of it or not is irrelevant of it happening. Some people are influenced by... No one is black and white completely in one direction. We are all shades of gray at the end of the day. But Satan's a counterfeiter, and whatever exists in the spiritual world that's coming from heaven, its counterfeit comes from hell, literally. And some people just are more taken in. Mm. In fact, there are some scientists that actually have discussed the fact that we all have minuscule amounts of antimatter in us, and that it's proportional to how much evil is in our bodies or how much evil we commit. How he proved that, or if it was a conjecture, I have no idea. But it's something that's stuck in my head from something I've read somewhere in the last year.
So the more evil you've committed, the more antimatter you have?
This is a good question. I don't know if it's a causal relationship or if it is a corroborational relationship. And I don't know where that I don't know if that's something that's coded into our genetics, our DNA. But they've done, if you've remember the guy that we had on we played his the ex CERN guy that we played a segment for.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the experiments they've done on some college campuses.
Do you think that was real?
Yes. Absolutely.
I didn't know if that was a hoax or...
He's not the only one saying it. There are probably...
It's not that I don't believe it, but I just didn't know if that was that specific, that recording, because it came out and it was like all over the place.
Because it was such an awesome recording. But he's done dozens, and there's other guys like Anthony Patch. Like there's a number of CERN defectors. And by the way, if you don't think there's some evil stuff going on at CERN, and I don't care if it was a staged event or if it was real.
Well, why would they?
But they literally had a a satanic ritual. Now, yeah,
Why would
maybe
they have that satanic ritual? My question. What, is that funny?
Exactly.
Is that
Where's
supposed
the
to be
joke? So you guys are going to go out and rent 20 black robes, and you're going to get 20. Tell me how you get 25 people. I can't even get 25 people to go to a surprise party.
Yeah.
How are you going to get 25 people to act out a satanic ritual as a joke?
Like it's
and
funny.
whoever was watching it, it certainly seemed like it was freaked out. I mean, CERN is a military complex. You don't just walk into the atrium and have a picnic.
Yeah.
I mean, so these people are coming from within CERN.
By the way, this Nurgle,
Yes.
okay, is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as a deity of the city of Kuth. It looks like it's Sumerian. Also, what did it say here? Part of the solar deity. A solar deity.
Okay.
Okay. So
If you keep scrolling down, if that's Wiki, you'll see he's supposedly the offspring of Enlil and the other.
Shamash was what I think that's one I've heard before. Identified with Shamash. Shamash.
Either way, and I don't know if this guy was getting an authentic vision or if he's a kook or if he's real. I mean, it could be anything. But it's just interesting. He mentioned this demon, and this demon has a history, and apparently this demon's supposedly powerful, and he's supposedly now, like, this is where in the Bible one of the layers of Mystery Babylon is going to become a haunt of devils, of demons.
Mm.
And his position was that that began officially in the United States on January 20th, 2013, 2012, whatever the day was that Obama was inaugurated, which sounds plausible. Can't prove it. I'm not going to stake my life on. I just thought it was interesting. So
yeah, this whole CERN thing, though, I mean, there is really something, I don't care who you are, there's something weird about that whole process of what's going on. Okay? And I've watched a couple of these performances that they put on. And these are not like a few people get together in the gym and say, hey, let's make a little skit up, No, these are high-end performances they've spent a lot of money on.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are both CEOs of your own company.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going to your staff and saying, guys, we're going to make a video that is like a voodoo ritual?
Yeah.
Even if you're
It'd
paying...
be fun. It's kooky.
I mean, you would have a hard time pulling that off, even if you were paying people to do this. So I start to think, what's going to get people to even fake a sacrificial ritual? Because people don't really... They just don't get into that unless there's something behind them pushing them in that direction. Something that is more meaningful than just the everyday circumstances of life.
Well, here,
because there's no humor in that.
And you've looked into Bohemian Grove.
Oh yeah,
and the things they've got them on film doing, right? Having these fake, they call them fake sacrifices, right?
Yeah, I don't care if it's real. Let's just let's say they are fake.
Let's say they're fake.
They at
right?
least acknowledge that they're fake.
Yeah.
That they Arnold
faked
Schwarzenegger.
it.
Yeah, it was a fake.
It was great.
But even if it is would you go to a fake lynching of a black guy, for instance?
No.
Or would you go to a mock execution of a?
It's just like this. What do they call the?
Let's go to a staged rape.
These dinners that they have that they talked about in Podesta emails and things like that. These. These satanic.
Marina Abramovich.
Yeah, they show Lady Gaga and she's standing there and they've got this body.
Yeah, bring your breast milk and semen, and we're gonna make a little sauce and
something cooking. What is it? Something cooking.
Spirit cooking.
Spirit cooking.
These kind of things are like, oh yeah, they were at a spirit cooking party. And I'm like, a what?
Yeah, did you get the recipe off Food Network? What, huh?
Who would want to do something like that?
Anyone? I'm showing a picture right now, which I'll put online. You guys,
is that Bohemian?
That is Bohemian Grove. You guys recognize anyone in there? it might be hard to recognize because we don't know his picture very well. Former Chief Supreme Court Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Turn it this way so I can see a little bit better.
You guys remember the Warren Commission?
No.
There's Earl Warren at Bohemian Grove.
Well, there have been so many politicians that have been there that you'd be better off naming the ones that have not been involved.
Yeah, and look, and folks, here's how this works. Because enough people have come out of these places and said the exact same story. They don't say that, it's not a club. They don't make you do things because there's a gun pointed to your head. But they film you doing these vile acts. I think they've got the vast majority of our congressmen, senators, and officials, military leaders, judicial officials. Basically, this is going to just sound unbelievable, but they have sex with little boys, literally, and they film it, and it's held as insurance. Yeah, you ever step out of line, this will come out. You want to see? Oh, look what happened to Dennis Hastert. Mm-hmm. You want that to happen to you? Look what happened to Buzz Aldrin, because we're going to be getting into NASA. You don't think you can keep people quiet? You don't think the fear of the devil could keep someone quiet? Because if you are not literally down with Jesus Christ, that stuff is so damn scary. I mean, once you get down with Jesus, it becomes just annoying and pesky. It's like having a bunch of flies around you. Just get away from me.
Who was the probably the most disgraced president ever?
Nixon.
Right? What did Nixon say when he came out of Bohemian Grove?
Oh, he goes, I'm not ever going back to that faggoty club.
Yeah. The most faggoty thing he's ever been to or something like that.
Do a Bill Clinton voice. I did not go.
I did not have sex with that man.
But I did with that one.
On that one over there.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry.
Maybe we won't put this one on YouTube, but whatever. We're allowed to vent, too.
Well, Tony may end up committing suicide if...
Oh, yeah.
How about this? Do we have how many? Let's close out our open conversations. Let's go to break, and we'll come back and do this NASA thing.
5 minutes.
Well, because we're going to the new topic of NASA, right? Here's a open question. It's not really a question. It's kind of a statement. And I'm trying to get what you guys' thoughts on this. And I don't know who for sure said it. It might have been Elon Musk, or it could have been our buddy Stephen Hawking, or one of these guys.
Wow.
Right?
Stephen Hawking.
You mean
that
the guy programming the speak and spell?
Yeah.
Yeah, which
exactly,
a lot of interesting stuff on
the
that,
agents that are recording his voice for him.
That would be the head of the FBI.
Now we're talking about Hawking. Here's a guy, ALS. What's the average age that someone lives with ALS?
Hey, as an owner of a healthcare company, I can tell you it's not that long. I mean,
he's been around 50 years with ALS.
I mean, this happened when he was at Cambridge in his 20s.
Yeah, my friend's sister was diagnosed with a version of ALS and died within 4 months.
Yeah, he was after his prognosis, he was given 2 years, and when he was approximately 20, right? He's 70, right? His hands, if you notice his hands, how before they were all deformed, now they're all straight, sitting here nice like that. Is that fake? I don't know. Anyway,
well, there are new medicines out there, but I think most disease is not some mutation in the world. Yeah. I think most of these are.
I guess my point I was going to get to, all that aside, it could be straight up. That's the truth. That's what's going on. He's lived this long.
Could be
medicines and he actually talks, and these are the things he says. Here's a guy that's super intelligent, right? More intelligent than anybody in the world.
Or so we're told.
So we're told.
That's what they told us.
Telling us we've got to get off this planet. Number one, you don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to. I don't want to go anywhere. Right? So who is we that have to get off this planet? Who is he talking to? The human race has to get off this planet? Well, let me ask you, why? Well, because we're ruining this one. We're ruining this planet, and humans aren't going to be able to survive anymore. Which is like, if you watched Morpheus, right? You're literally a virus to this planet. You're destroying this planet, is what he's saying.
Tell you what, if the Rothschild family released their wealth, they could house and feed every human being on the planet forever.
Yeah, but
so why don't you talk to them?
According to these people, we are destroying this planet. I mean, this is a global. We pulled out of the Paris Accord. The world's over.
Maybe spell check wasn't on when he made that statement.
But my question is, if you're that smart, you'd have to know that if humans are that dangerous, and you're going to send them off into another planet, what are they going to do there?
Mess another one up.
Thank you. I'm like, exactly. We're going to carry these same.
God forbid there's an indigenous species on that planet, because we'll kill all of them and then wreck their planet.
So you're telling me Stephen Hawking, super intelligent Stephen Hawking, is going to say, we're ruining this planet. We need to go to another planet. Excuse me. That's
what quitters do. They run.
Yeah.
I'm taking my ball home. Yeah,
but that's. I just find
until
that
you fix
mind blowing.
Look, when you start to peel back the layers of the onion, for anyone that has the guts to do it and actually believe their own eyes, because you can throw 1,000 witnesses at someone. We just had a guy this week that did a 9/11 deathbed confession, which I've been waiting for, because I know there's a bunch. He's like, I worked for the CIA. When I did it, I thought that it was for the country. He goes, look, the way we work is we are completely cellularized and specialized. Mm-hmm. So all they do is follow their specific instructions. They have no idea of the greater plan. They don't even know who other CIA agents are. Mm-hmm. And it's the same compartmentalization that allowed us to keep the Manhattan Project a secret. Mm-hmm. You put a little pressure on someone and you say it's for the good of your country. You get people to make oaths, and they don't know who they're really making an oath with. And, of course, something's going on inside of them, because they make these deathbed confessions. Even Howard Hunt made a deathbed confession, although his was bullshit, if you ask me. So this 9/11 former CIA guy who was involved, he was part of a 4-man team that made sure that the wiring in World Trade Center 7 specifically was set and ready to bring that building down. It's a guy that said it. Now, either this guy went crazy, or he wanted to screw his family over, because think about the heat that's going to bring on to his progeny, that he was involved in helping the greatest terrorist event in U.S. history. Or he's telling the truth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you start going like a police officer or a court case. The guy's either telling the truth, he's lying, or you go down this checklist. And none of these things make sense, right? Unless you're telling the truth. Why would you want to be a liar? Why would you want to do this? Why would none of this really makes sense. You have people that will lie.
No, it's fake news according to Snopes.
Well, regardless, the whole point is. And this is how they work.
His name is Malcolm Howard, supposedly.
This is how they operate, is you throw all these things out there to confuse the issue. It's like JFK. It's like you're in a room full of people, you killed so-and-so, and you get this guy over here, I killed JFK. Pretty soon, you don't know who killed JFK because everyone's lying.
Well, there's a lot of muck on the windshield. You can get it off.
Filth and muck.
One of the reasons 9/11 is so important is because it was the best documented event of the modern era, and it was recorded as it happened. Mm-hmm. And we made our case in the movie, The Anatomy of a Great Deception, and there's so much, you can't put 10,000 hours of research into a 2-hour movie. So just, if you didn't believe the movie by itself, just trust me. Mm. This was a complete inside job. Not by the government as a whole, it's too big, but by a handful of people in positions of power inside of our government that employed the CIA and their other organizations to do their thing, all of them doing it in the way they do it, compartmentalized, no communication, because they don't want anyone to see the big picture. But you can see it with your own eyes. You can prove it. And this is why this is not about intelligence, because I've got some intelligent friends that have seen that movie. One guy, one of my best friends, just looked at me and said, Dave, I'm just not a conspiracy theorist. To which I let him off the hook. But inside my head, I wanted to reach across the room and choke him, because I'm not asking you to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm asking you to be an analyst. You have to realize
look at the evidence.
this isn't about intelligence because the guy's smart. This is about, for me, it's weakness. It's cowardliness. If you can have something like that proven to you, but then you go, it's like, I'm going to use a metaphor here, and then we'll go to break. Let's say you've got a friend whose wife is cheating on him, and you know it. You've caught them red-handed with the dude literally having sex with your buddy's wife. Okay, you know she's having an affair. You frickin' know it. You go and tell your buddy, because that's the kind of guy you are. I mean, I would want my friends to tell me.
Yeah.
It's very possible that your friend is going to get mad at you and cling to his wife and cling to the bullshit that he already knows. You know, she is never home at midnight. I do see her car parked at the Tiki Motel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then she gives some BS story that this little weakling is clinging to. He's like, just make it plausible so I can believe you.
Yeah.
But then there are other people that will do their own research, find out, might even catch her again in the act, divorce. These are two different human reactions to the same event that many of us have experience with. This is not about intelligence. It's about something inside of you. And some people are just strong or they're confident. I don't know what it is. And there are some people that are just weak because they can't handle it. They can't handle what to do if you don't put a manual down in front of me with a bunch of orders and times where I need to be. They can't even create their own story. They can't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's a little solace in the fact that was also predicted in the Bible. The God of this world would blind people.
They would be deceived. Right.
How exactly that works is there are times I wish I could get in someone else's body to feel what it is that you're going through. Like how does cognitive dissonance work inside of you? Because here's all the proof. Here's the photograph of your wife with the plumber. Here's the photograph of her with the school janitor. Here's her parked at the hotel. Here, blah, blah, blah. And I've seen this with 9/11. People just dismiss all of that because Katie Couric, she's so nice. Why would she lie?
That Brian
Williams?
That Brian Williams guy, well, he wouldn't lie about anything, would he? I mean, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Dan Rather, liar. Walter Cronkite, he's in the book too.
Oh my! Well, we better take a break here. We're gonna Roger pay a couple bills, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Down the Rabbit Hole. We are talking about a whole bevy of things, including Stephen Hawking. Yeah. Anyway, Dave, want to get a little on topic? We're gonna talk about NASA.
I've got these were off the top of my head too. I didn't even review information. This is 40 reasons I think the moon landings may have been faked. I'm not going to say with certainty they were faked. Here are 40 things to look into. And if you can't get your arms around why they would be faked, don't let that stop you yet. Because we can make a very strong case for why they were faked. So, let's just go. This is a random order list.
Okay.
I probably should have put this in a better order. Here are 40 things you can go look for, all online. Many of them right out of the NASA archives, that seem to indicate that some sort of deception was going on. And don't worry right now if you don't understand how it could have been pulled off, because we've talked earlier in this show already about how secrets can be kept, how you can fool people that are even inside of a company or inside of an organization into not understanding what their true role was. Like, I don't think those rows of NASA scientists that were all looking at computer monitors during the Apollo 11 missions.
No, they didn't have a clue.
I think they were all just doing their job.
Yeah.
There were the health guys that were looking at the vitals of the astronauts, and they really were looking at the vitals of the astronauts.
Sure.
There would have to be some people in on it, like the astronauts, probably the mission commander, whoever picked up the astronauts after their rocket did nothing more than go into low Earth orbit. Someone had to pick them up, so they probably knew. But those guys work for the Navy, and they're under secrecy. They can't just come out and start talking unless they want to be decommissioned, lose their pension, be made fun of, maybe even killed. I mean, Gus Grissom, he's on our list. But here's a few things anyone could just go look at. Several missions to the moon. First one was Apollo 11. The mountain background, even though the landing sites on the moon were separated by hundreds of miles, the mountain background is the same exact one on several missions, whether it's Apollo 12, 11, 12, 14, because 13 never made it, supposedly.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah, I don't think any of them made it, actually. That's one thing to look for. There are several NASA scientists from inside where all the whistleblowers. Well, they're there. They're just not allowed to go on our media. In fact, Howard, you and I both saw this week where a NASA insider said, someone asked him, why haven't we returned to the moon? And we've gotten so many different answers.
It's awesome.
What was his answer?
His answer was fruit flies are exempt from evolution. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was a much better answer than that. They've lost that technology, Dave.
The dog ate my homework.
The dog ate the technology to get to the moon, and they can't seem to recreate it.
Now, I believe this guy believes that NASA somehow lost the technology.
How can he literally be a rocket scientist and believe that?
Because people are dumb. By and large, people are sheep. They just follow the herd and they don't think. That's why we're in this mess in the first place. So there's a NASA guy out there that says we lost all the calculations, and somehow 50 years later we can't even duplicate those calculations because we can't. So we've got NASA insiders from Werner von Braun, Walter Rydell, Carol Rosen, Matt Boylan, and these are off the top of my head. All these guys that come out and say, you guys, they faked it. That's number 2. Number 3, Werner von Braun also said there's a dome, which some people I think might call the Van Allen belt, over Earth, and we can't get beyond it.
Because the radiation, it's a radiation belt.
For whatever reason.
That's what the claim is, anyway.
Yeah. But somehow in 1969, with a roll of Reynolds foil, we were able to get past it. Not get hit by, we flew 250,000 miles to the moon and back in a foil ship.
Yeah.
That, thank God, never even had a particle of dust in its path.
No,
because
not a ding.
At the rate they're traveling, which is probably 20, 30,000 miles an hour at peak, all it would take is a pebble to create. I mean, that would blow your ship apart. And let's just say all it did was create a little miniature hole. Well, if space really is a vacuum, mission over. No, everything would be destroyed. Don't even get me started on how the Earth is held in orbit via gravity. But somehow, when you get out as far as the ISS station, gravity just stops working. There is no gravity. Oh, but for another 93 million miles to the sun, but then it kicks up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Okay, so Werner von Braun also said something interesting.
Could you call that gravitational evolution?
Yeah. He also said that the moon missions were part of a coming deception involving a staged alien invasion. Now, you can't really verify what someone says on their deathbed unless it's videotaped. And even if it is, that can be faked too. But you can't deny what's written on his tombstone. Psalms 19:1. Something along the lines of, the glory of God is displayed in the canopy over the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Number 4. Photos were taken of the lunar lander seemingly from the surface of the moon before anyone was ever on the moon. To which I know that one's iffy.
That one is a little iffy.
But, here again, it's not that all 40 of these have to be right.
No, only one has to be right.
Only one has to be right.
Right.
So fine, throw that one out.
Right.
Number 5. Did you guys ever see the video where the cat ran across the lunar module set?
I have not recently, but
look that one up, Tony. Maybe we can.
Well, I just wanted to point out. You mentioned speed.
Yes.
Based on how many miles in 3 days?
So 100 hours to travel 250,000 miles. We're looking at
3,333.33.
3,000 miles an hour. Okay. Yeah, look what happens to a jet airliner that hits a bird traveling 400 miles an hour.
So we want to look up what? Oh.
Just put in cat NASA set to see if that pops up a video of the little cat that jumped off the lunar module and ran across the set. Do a video. All right, while you look that one up, let's keep going. Look these up for yourself and see where it leads you if you care and if you dare. But be prepared, it might change your worldview. Now, there definitely are forces at work in this world that don't want most people to change their worldview because their worldview is such that there's no way the Bible could ever be true.
Can I bring up one thing?
Yeah.
You guys talked about the lost technology. I saw that guy, by the way, say that. But what about the actual photos and all that stuff from the original? That's all apparently lost now.
Much of it is. But a lot of it actually has been kept by some NASA scientists that release it as they're ending their life. And there again, you can never count on one thing with certainty. This is basically building a circumstantial case. NASA definitely was caught faking some pictures. Many of them, in fact. There's a documentary called Something Strange Happened on the Way to the Moon, or Something Happened on the Way to the Moon. Are you guys familiar with that documentary? Where
I've heard of it.
We've got the astronauts in low Earth orbit, and they use this cutout to create the image of a round Earth that's in the distance. Yet they were probably only at 100 to 200 miles above the Earth, not 100,000 miles away, as they would have us believe. Now, that wasn't supposed to be released to the public, but it was. Gus Grissom. Who's Gus Grissom? He's one of the original, I want to say it was Mercury, Gemini. He was one of the guys in all the right stuff. So Gus Grissom, a few days before his mysterious death, which his own family claims was a murder. Think about that. Would you disgrace your own family name by making such an unbelievable claim that NASA murdered your father?
Yeah, no.
So 2 days after he said that there's no way we can go to the moon, we do not have the technology, this is ridiculous that we're even toying with this, he dies in a freak fire in the capsule of a rocket, which is nowhere near any of the gas or fuel, and all the safety mechanisms that exist, none of them apparently worked. So these 3 astronauts died because I think Gus Grissom opened his mouth. Now, you don't think that sends a message? You don't think the water cooler talk at NASA? You don't think other astronauts like
I think that's how they
Shepard and John Glenn or Neil Armstrong why do you think it looked like their dog was run over during the entire press conference when they just accomplished the greatest thing in human history? Shit, when someone wins the Super Bowl, you can't wipe a smile off their face. And that's just a Super Bowl. Moving on. NASA is made up of ex-Nazis. I mean, that is literally what got NASA off the ground. We brought over all these rocket scientists from Germany's V1 and V2 programs, the first intercontinental ballistic missile, which was the V2. Well, technically the V1 also, but the V2 was what modern-day rockets look like. These guys are known liars, and they're just there. They're the ones pulling the strings. And we already know that they were heavily involved in the occult, which is demon worship. It's even on their logo. I'm sure the logo's in here. I'll get to that in a minute. So that's number 8. Number 9. Oh, we already covered this one. NASA claims to have lost the technology that allowed them to land on the moon, and they haven't been able to reproduce it since. And here we are 50 years later. We can't even land a rocket vertically on Earth, much less 250,000 miles away with delays in communication, and I'm sure we're going to get to some of the
There
other
was
ones.
some great videos that were from 08mm movies of Neil Armstrong in the lunar lander trying to land it at an airfield.
Oh, and that was a few weeks before Apollo 11. I mean,
Dude.
he had to bail out
He had to
several
bail.
times. We
Yeah.
couldn't even get a craft to...
Yeah, how many lunar landers did we have? Because I saw 2 destroyed.
You know what the
And there's
answer-
at least one at the Smithsonian.
one of the answers would be to that is that the gravity on Earth
I
is
know,
5 times
I know.
greater, and you need,
All right, well, that knife cuts both ways.
Yeah,
If
you
it's
would
5
have some-
times greater, how much do you weigh? Let's say 200 pounds. That means you weigh 40 pounds there. Do you know how far you could jump if you weighed 40
Yeah.
pounds? Oh, my gosh. You could leap and bound. I mean, scientists figured out that the astronauts, when they were on the surface of the moon, even with their equipment, which also would have weighed 1/6 what it does here, the net weight of the astronauts was about 70 or so pounds. You should be able to jump 10 feet in the air. Yet, they never get more than 12 inches off the ground. I might be ruining some of the ones we got coming up here. 'Cause number 10, we still can't even land a rocket vertically. 11, the 10,000-pound thrust of the lunar lander engine kicked up no dust on landing. Nor did any dust settle anywhere on the lunar module after landing. You can see... Now, this is right out of NASA. You can see the bottom of the lunar lander. There is no burn marks from a rocket that had fired. There's not a speck of dust in any of the foil cups that make up the feet of the lunar. Really, you go...
And one of the concerns was that they were going to the blast hole. You'd create a crater from the blast, right? Because it's a rocket. So this rocket would be, forcing all this. And you see these guys when they step, dust goes everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's not that dust wasn't there.
It's not like there's no dust there.
And look, at the time...
But you look underneath where it's landed, there's no evidence of any rocket blast where they were, the guys were concerned that, hey, this rocket is going to destroy the Earth, and it's going to be, the blast crater is going to be bigger than the landing.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't just that. There were authentic scientists that did calculations saying, okay, we know that there are particles in space. These things have been bombarding the moon for 5 billion years. They weren't sure that there wasn't 20 feet of very loose dust that we're landing in. I mean, literally landing in quicksand.
Right.
But the dust on the moon was, it's kind of what you'd bring to a movie studio, I think, to make it look real. It was about an inch thick.
Well, the budget for dust ran out.
Dust budget.
Okay, so we're at number 10,000-pound thrust. We got that. Area beneath the lunar module engine shows no signs of rocket burn or disturbance. Upon return, the astronauts looked sheepish, depressed. They looked guilty. If I'm just going to put on my policeman's eyes, they look guilty.
Yeah.
They certainly don't look like they've accomplished...
Who was it, Armstrong, that didn't talk again for 40 years or something like that?
He only gave a couple of interviews in his whole life. One of his first appearances since he was supposedly on the moon was in 1994 at the White House, where he starts off saying, the Wright brothers learned how to fly, but we're more like parrots. We're good at talking, but not really flying. And then he's crying, and he's talking about removing the layers of truth because they're hidden. I mean, it's like this. He's probably saying as much as he could say.
He's lucky Clinton wasn't in the White House. He would have committed suicide the next day.
And the thing is these people that we revere as our heroes are actually some of the most spineless mofos that have ever existed. Again, no one of these things proved. This is a circumstantial case. None of the astronauts, when approached, and they've all been approached many times, would swear on the Bible that they went there. None of them. Think about yourself. If you claim to have done something and you actually did it, and someone just was bugging you, bringing a Bible in front, would you just swear on the Bible and just go, all right, dude, will this get you out of my face? I swear, I went. They wouldn't do it. They ran away like little kids. I'm not a fan of the method because it was a little rude, but not a single one of them did it.
But by the playing devil's advocate, because our job here is to debunk as well. Think about it. If someone had been bugging you with the same old story for 30 or 40 years, when they come up to you again saying it, wouldn't you be like, oh, my God, this again?
You want to punch him in the face.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
I mean, I hate to.
Yeah, we're basically going on the preponderance of the evidence, right? Basically what you do.
Look, I'm devil's advocate to all without a doubt. Like I said, and I even started off saying, I can't say with certainty that the moon landings were faked. But the evidence seems to indicate.
There's a lot of strange things. Questions.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't say with certainty that they were faked.
I will say with certainty 9/11 was faked.
But I can understand why they needed to be.
Oh, we'll get to that. Okay, moving on here. Number 15 we sort of already covered. The Earth is bombarded by hundreds of tons of space debris each day, yet the ship didn't even hit a speck on the 500,000-mile trip there and back. And not just one ship, any of the ships. NASA has been caught in dozens of lies already. Little things like we do a spacewalk that they're presenting as a spacewalk in space, yet it's obviously a spacewalk in a pool because you can see water bubbles leaving. You can also see when they're supposedly in the ISS station. Go look these videos up for yourself. This is off of NASA's own website. You can see oxygen tanks in a door that flies open, and then some guy that's supposedly in the ISS reaches out and shuts the door. You can see his hand. Yet, if you're in the vacuum of space, dude, your innards would have been pulled out of your body. You would have just vaporized and been dispersed. Yet somehow they can open a door, and a guy without a suit can be in that environment. NASA's been caught in dozens of lies. Other lies, there actually, folks, there are no complete pictures of Earth. Every photograph we look at is actually a composite. Right. And modern video technology proves that out. And they themselves have admitted that. So that's a little bit of a deception in some way.
Well, look at the different, all you got to do is look at the official NASA photos over the last 20 years and look at the differences in size of North America alone.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Moving on, number 17. And I can tell you this from film experience. I'm going to play that card right now. Multiple light sources cast varying shadows on the moon, even though supposedly the only light source they had was the sun. And then you've also got the backlighting problem, which is if something's in darkness. So if you're on the lunar module's on the surface of the moon, everything on the back side of the lunar module, there is literally nothing to light it. It should be in complete darkness. It should be nothing but a black shadow. But you can clearly see, I mean, the bends in the foil, the American flag, it's backlit. It was not there. Now, NASA could have solved that one by saying, we brought up some
lighting,
some artificial lighting. But they had already put their foot in it because they'd said, we're only going to have the light source of this, which was the sun. So this is number 18. Objects in the shadows are well lit, and you can only have that with backlighting, like as in a studio. Number 19, several behind-the-scenes videos have mistakes. Like, have you guys seen the one where the ceiling lights fell on the astronauts? Have you guys seen that one?
No.
I may have.
There's fluorescent lights broke, and all of a sudden, just like the ones we have here on our roof, still partially hanging to the roof of the studio, came down and knocked the astronaut in his helmet.
I didn't see that.
Now, maybe, I think NASA's explanation for that is, well, we were rehearsing the moon landing in a studio, and that's where that
Well,
happened.
that's what they use. They admit that they've got models of all this stuff, right? They admit they've got sets. But they claim, from what I've heard, they've claimed that they made all that stuff because they didn't have the technology to take pictures, and they knew all this stuff needed to come back. As it's like when you're seeing a landing going on. Who's filming that? Right? You're watching a lunar landing, and you've got a picture of it over here.
Right.
Who's taking that photo?
That was one of the ones that's gray. It could have been taken from the capsule itself in orbit. Could have taken that picture out the window of the lunar lander.
All things that they could explain, right? Here's the funny part. It's just like every other topic that you talk about. If you start talking about these things, it should be very easy for them to come out and say, here's all the issues that people brought up. Here's all the answers, right? If it were true, if someone come out and said, Dave Hooper, you are blah, 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 and here's all the list of things, and you'd say, no, I didn't do that. This is where I was. You'd answer all those questions. But there is no...
You can't do it at once because a complete picture can't be made. The only way they can argue those is by coming up with elaborate reasons for why you saw something. But that reason conflicts with something down the line, so you never have this like trial of the event. Mm-hmm. You just have these one-off questions. It's like 9/11 and squibs. You can come up with an elaborate reason of why air is being pushed out of the World Trade Center.
You're talking about as you're seeing all these smoke blasts coming out.
Yeah, that's
in
the
order,
pancaking floors causing air pressure.
Where nothing's moving, but you see these things going
right.
out. Yeah.
All right, number 20. As the lunar module lands, and I don't know who was the voice, whether it was Armstrong or one of the other guys, was giving NASA a second-by-second report on the moments before landing.
With the engine.
Yeah, this I got from
immediately on top of
a NASA defector. This is a guy that used to work at Rocketdyne, and I think his name's in here, but I think it's the one I might have sent you guys. Do you guys remember his name, that ex-NASA guy that I sent?
Go ahead.
Anyway, he's like, look, I was a rocket engineer for Rocketdyne. We made the Saturn rockets, whatever rockets they used on the missions. And he's like, the decibel level coming out of that lunar module's engine at 10,000 pounds of thrust, there's no way you could hear a human voice. It would be so loud.
That was the email or the link that you sent, by the way.
He said it would drown out a human voice. That was one of the clues for him. The astronauts are all Freemasons. And Freemasonry, it's been proven, these guys swear an oath of allegiance and an oath of silence. And they, by and large, keep that oath. So they have the ability to keep secrets. Number 22. No telescope has ever taken a picture of the lunar module base or the American flag, which they claim is still there. Why haven't we even just once...
Now this is one that my buddy I'm telling you about said that he has seen these through a telescope. He has seen the flag. It's getting whiter because the colors are bleeding out of it.
Why would it get whiter?
No, there's no atmosphere.
Well, he said
what's going to erode it? You know what? Tell your friend I will give him $1,000, literally, if he can produce the photograph which he claims he saw.
But no, he said he actually witnessed it through a telescope.
Right, so it sounds like he can get it. So all he needs to do is just attach a camera and let's photograph. Let's see. Because
Well, these are things I would agree. Like I said,
look,
all of these things that we're
my
talking
mom
about.
thinks she saw the Titanic sink because she saw the movie. Okay,
Yeah.
you got to understand how the human mind works. We
Yeah.
don't remember what happened. We remember what we think. We remember what we imagined, and especially those thoughts get congealed in the moments after an event.
Yeah, I mean, it could be when you're caught up in the moment. Are you actually looking through a telescope and seeing something, or are you remembering seeing a picture of that and being told that's what it is? Now you look through your telescope and you see some dots and like, oh, that's what that is. These are all ways that you can get around it. I understand that, but
We can focus in on galaxies that are 10 billion light years away. Okay? Think about that.
well, we can just go to Phoenix and look through Lucifer, right?
Yeah, the Lucifer telescope. There is no doubt in my mind we can photograph something that's on the moon. We could even photograph a rock on the moon if we wanted to. We can photograph a license plate from above Earth. Okay? Don't tell me
Right.
this technology does not exist. That's
And
bull.
the moon's actually...
Wait,
is
you
it
know, it's
closer
too
to the
far away.
satellites?
Oh, really? Really?
Is the moon closer to the satellites than the Earth is?
What's that?
Is the moon closer to
Yeah.
the satellites?
Satellites, I mean, they're like anywhere from 60 to 400 miles out, depending. Moving on here. Number 23. There's no wind on the moon's surface. There's no atmosphere. Yet, you can see the American flag fluttering in the wind on several shots. 24. Stanley Kubrick hinted that he was asked to stage it on video. Now, I didn't mention that Stanley Kubrick interview that just surfaced
Yeah.
because I think it's false.
Yeah, they've been saying it's fake.
That the guy
But-
that's not really Stanley Kubrick, you're saying.
But certainly looks like Stanley Kubrick. But
They claim it's Stanley.
one of the ways that the public is deceived is it's not always by denial. It's by flooding the market
Yeah.
with copycats. So you don't know which one is the real Gucci purse. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Number 25. NASA purposely forced TV networks to film NASA's feed on a video screen instead of giving them the feed directly. So all those pictures we have of the moon landing, they're so grainy and lousy, not because the camera technology wasn't there, because it was, but it was going through two analog systems. They were videotaping a videotape. Number 26. You can see wire harnesses on the astronauts. You can see them yanked around and pulled up and pulled down.
I did see one of those the other day where they had the guy, he tripped.
Yeah,
Right.
and then he suddenly jumps.
Well, he's on his hands and knees, right? And he's like struggling. Then next thing you know, his whole body comes up and his feet are still bent and his hands are still down. He kind of gets pulled up and stands up without pushing himself up. And, and that one's pretty obvious that's
Beyond obvious, and that's from the moon's surface, supposedly. But the reason we were given for that is that this is where their reasoning cuts both ways, and they can't ever allow it to be on trial because they say, well, you don't need a lot of force to elevate yourself on the moon. I'm like, okay, that is plausible.
Right.
Then why don't we see these astronauts do anything more than essentially gallop?
Yeah.
It's a human gallop at double speed. Number 26. Oh, that was 26. Wire harnesses. 27. Even though the astronauts and their equipment weighed 1/6 of what it would on Earth, about 40 pounds of Earth weight, no astronaut jumped more than 12 inches off the ground. It'd be the equivalent of your son walking into a bounce house and just walking and not jumping even once. Not even testing to see.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Not even. That's not human nature. 28. When the moon video is played at 2 times speed, it's clearly just people walking on Earth. It's just people walking under the gravitational pull of the Earth. Clearly. Just play it at double speed. You'll see. 29. Little dust is kicked up by the moon rover any higher than it would be on Earth. Or no dust is kicked up by the moon rover any higher than it would be on Earth if you're just in a four-wheeler driving in a desert.
Right.
Now, that makes no sense. It should be 5-6 times higher. I mean, it should be, but that's not there. 30. They pulled this mission off in 1969 in the computing power of a calculator, but they can't reproduce it today with supercomputers. Really? Okay. 31.
Well, here's another thing to go right along with that. Who else is getting in on this game? You got guys like Elon Musk and people that are trying to go to space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. I mean, if this was devil's advocate, if this was the technology in 1969, 48 years ago today, right? These people would be able to compute that and come up with these answers, just like you're saying. It's not just we say it's NASA lost this, but it has to be worldwide because nobody's doing it.
Yeah, Russia lost it too. China must. Everyone lost it.
Everyone lost.
And look,
that doesn't sound.
There's a
right.
big difference. It's like evolution. Yes, microevolution happens. Species adapt to their local environments, but macroevolution and life origination and natural selection are BS. And it's always the truth woven in with lies. In space, low or Earth orbit is attainable. That is real, but not deep space. Moving on, 31. A dozen or so modern-day NASA officials say we haven't figured out how to get through the Van Allen belt yet, but somehow we did it 50 years ago. Some of the spokespeople that NASA has are, and it's, you'll notice it's common with newscasters, you get these young, attractive people who are wet behind the ears and they're just naive because they're young. Because you still believe your authority figures, and that's who you get to do your bidding for you. And you get these NASA spokesmen who it's like they don't even know that there was a moon landing because they're like, well, they'll accidentally say, well, we haven't figured out how to crack the Van Allen belt yet. We can't do that.
Oh, yeah, I saw one of those videos where a young kid said that. The other thing is the questioning about when they originally went through, that if you were to go through this radiation belt that they're claiming, the Van Allen belt radiation, there's two, by the way.
I did not know that.
There's two Van Allen belts, and it might be like an inner and outer, but they kind of showed an illustration of it. The point was, they asked the questions. Well, was the ship prepared for that? Was it set up to stop that radiation? Well, no, not really. Well, what about the suits? And they go back and they went to the manufacturer of the suits. No, there was no radiation protection in the suits, right? There was none of that stuff to stop because they didn't realize.
Yeah, how are these guys not microwave popcorn?
Yeah.
Well,
if it's such a problem now because they talk about how they have to protect these ships and protect all this kind of stuff, why wasn't it a problem back in 1969?
Global warming.
The same reason that there are thousands of architects that say 9/11 was impossible is because they're using their own knowledge. There are thousands of pilots that say 9/11 was impossible because they're using their own knowledge. There are certainly that many and more people that have analyzed one of the greatest events in human history, the moon landing. I mean, have gone in because they saw a problem that they knew about because of the nature of their work, that end up discovering that this isn't true, and then they come out and say it. There's a reason conspiracy theories exist. They're not fueled, typically, by wackos. They're fueled by educated, earnestful, truth-seeking humans that are not getting satisfactory answers. At least that was the case for me. 33, NASA pictures of the lunar surface are heavily edited. You can even see rocks that are props that have numbers and codes that were erased out of different versions. You guys all familiar with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. That was number 34. Pictures of Earth from the moon were superimposed on still shots. So we talked about that one last week with video layering. You can see that what is claimed to be by NASA as an authentic photograph is actually a multi-layered photograph, and one of the layers contained a picture of the Earth, meaning it was superimposed there. It was added afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if this was an authentic mission, and another thing, the Earth is about 5 or so times bigger than the moon. 6, whatever. Wouldn't you think that from the moon, looking back at the Earth would appear about 6 times bigger in
A photo?
than the moon does from here?
Absolutely.
Hard to say because most people haven't been to the moon, but you think that
I've seen the sizes that they show on the textbooks. The Earth is a lot bigger than the moon.
Moving on. Number 35. The rocks that were supposedly brought back from the moon
Which ones? The wooden ones?
that were given to many thank you. That were given to many heads of state have since been analyzed, and they came to find out this is petrified wood. We didn't have enough rocks to give to all the world leaders.
There's
so
wood on the moon?
Yeah.
It used to be before they lost their
Again,
atmosphere.
this doesn't prove anything by itself, but it's a circumstantial case. And this is off the top of my head, and this was in 10 minutes. We talked about this one, 36. The dust on the moon after billions of years was predicted to be dozens of feet deep. And just whatever we think we know about the moon
It was a dusting of dust.
is wrong if there was only a couple inches of dust, which is what we found, which is what they found in the studio. 37. We talked about this one, too. The Earth should appear 6 times bigger than it does on the horizon. 38. No stars are visible from the surface of the moon, nor do any of the astronauts remember looking at any stars when asked what the sky looked like at their first press conference. So these guys that look like their dog just got run over asked, what do the stars look like from the surface? And they all kind of look at each other, and they're like, well, we didn't really look up at the stars. Really? So you didn't jump, and you didn't look at the stars either? But you did swing a golf club. And by the way, that golf shot, I mean, it should have gone. That should have been like a 1,000-yard drive. Okay, so they didn't bother to look at the star. At least that's what they said. Interesting. Number 39. No one has an explanation why gravity keeps the Earth in orbit around the sun, but somehow gravity stops working between the Earth's atmosphere and the sun during spacewalks. We kind of said that one. 40. All the studio equipment needed to fake the moon landing is in NASA's possession. That was off the top of my head, and I put this together in 10 minutes. I'm sure
You don't have anything about Diamonds Are Forever either. You remember the movie Diamonds Are Forever?
Yeah.
Where they actually
James Bond?
James Bond, where he breaks into the studio and they're filming the fake moon landing.
Oh, and that's their MO. They will. I think there's a cosmic law.
And the funny thing is, it supposedly was filmed in London.
Oh, really?
The studio was located. It was the MGM studio in London that they supposedly filmed it at.
One thing I've noticed is when there's a BS event going on, there will be, right as that event is happening, there will be movies about it being a BS event. So if you ever saw the movie Capricorn 1, I want to say it was Capricorn 1, where these 3 astronauts got embroiled in a faked moon landing and they were freaking out. See, and when you understand the relationship between movie studios, the Central Intelligence Agency, NASA, the powers that be, what a great cover. Well, I mean, to put a movie out that shows it as a fake, so that when you, as a regular human citizen, say, "Hey, well, I think they faked the moon landing." Oh, dude, you're getting influenced by a movie.
It was Capricorn 1.
What a great cover! Remember, I mean, we are up against the greatest deceiver.
This is what kind of morons you're dealing with. Okay, all the people that watched 2001: A Space Odyssey that came out about a year before the moon landing just went, wow, how did Stanley Kubrick make it so authentic? Space looks exactly like Stanley Kubrick thinks it does. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and
You,
then
you
look,
don't you don't see a smoking gun there?
you get a ball rolling down a hill, and then the sheep mentality takes over. So people, filmmakers, they just the same way it works in the art world or in the music world. You're influenced by something you've seen and heard, and then you build on it. And that is what we've actually created through a bombardment of mainstream media in movies and sitcoms, you name it. We all think we know what is out there and what it looks like. But it's all of it is made up. It's
all been spelled out for you, just like you said. I mean, all of these things have been described over and over and over.
So when you see the real thing, you wouldn't know it because your mind would tell you it wasn't.
Because you're expecting it. I mean,
it's all placed in your head already. When someone says, it's like the dinosaurs. When someone says, oh, the dinosaurs, oh, yeah, they were X amount of 93 million years ago, right? And this is what they look like, and this is, you know all these things in your head right away. That's why I say when you talk about what space looks like, right? Everybody knows what it looks like because it's been in all these different movies. And that's actually
all of it is the
what Stanley Kubrick
accumulated
is the one who made the movie
imagination of a
before.
handful of guys. What's that?
I said, but Kubrick's movie came out before the moon landing. Pretty sure.
Oh, well, he would have been working on the moon landing well before it happened.
Let's get to, before we break off here.
Well, we got like 31 seconds. No, he's pulling it up right now. We're getting the.
What were you about to say?
We're getting the piss off music.
I was going to say.
Hey, guys, at the end of the day, it's not to create discomfort. We're trying to show you how evil operates because the antithesis of evil is literally Jesus Christ. He is the truth and the light. And if you don't love him, you don't love the truth. If these things are not getting through to you, take a second look, people. He is coming back soon. That's all I have to say about that. We'll see you guys next week.
He'll probably be playing this song in his car.
I love this closing
song.
song.
This is a good closing song.
You can make it our opening song, too,
This
Roger.
has been Down the Rabbit Hole. We will see you next week.